whoever is doing the background, just get Ajay Singh in whenever he's there in the next 5 minutes.
Yes, yes, sir. So we are live, sir.
I've got 3 sets of projections medals with 2 different companies from America. And boxing is
Chief, I'll come to you. Rimaji, go for it. Let's start.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hi, good evening and a warm welcome to all our speakers and our audience to the Tata Literature Live Sports Yatras. I'm Reena Agrawal from Literature Live. Dreams of a Billion, India and the Olympic Games is the book we are discussing once again today, co-authored by Boria Majumdar and Nalin, with a special focus this time on the combat sports India has excelled. Boria Majumdar is in conversation with Mr. Raninder Singh, Mr. Ajay Singh, Mr. Parth, along with Mr. Nalin Mehta, his co-author. Before I invite Boria to take this evening forward, may I remind you all to send your questions for the Q&A segment at the end of the session. 5 questions win vouchers, gift vouchers from Tata Click. So bring them on. Over to you, Boria. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. 49 days to go. In fact, we wanted to do it for 50 days to go. It's 49 days to go, not a problem. And what a panel. What a panel. I mean, Rio 2016, someone who deep dived and did an introspection, the Abhinav Bindra committee report, and now 15 shooters training in Croatia, perhaps our best ever team. Each of them on their day can win us a medal. They are that good. And this is a realistic assessment. Numbers, we'll come to Raninder with that. There are multiple assessments he'll give us. Ajay Singh, we again know, has been tremendous with the boxing contingent. They're already in the Middle East training. We know Mary will have her last crack at a medal. We know Amit has a tremendous chance. Again, boxing should give us medals. We keep talking about corporate involvement in sport in India, and we say, oh, Olympic sport doesn't get real involvement from corporates. Here's one who made a difference. Not simply cricket, not simply football, the amount JSW sport has done, and singularly Parth Jindal has done for Indian Olympic sport and Indian sport is commendable. And I've got no problems in saying that publicly. Nalin, comrade in arms. I mean, I don't know what Nalin and I need to do more. I mean, Nalin Mehta and I have done everything together, including millions of hours of bitching about Raninder and what Raninder made a mess of in Rio. So all that is part of the story. But Parth, I'll start with you. How excited are you? Clearly, Tokyo 2020, and there's Ajay. Can't be better timing, Mr. Singh. Welcome. Parth Jindal, take this. How excited are you? And am I right in saying, and do you believe Tokyo 2020-21 will be our best games?
No, first of all, it's an honor to be on this panel with all of you, and especially with Raninder and Ajay Uncle, as well as with you and Nalin, who have covered the Olympic Games and have provided such a wonderful book to all of us. Very little is known about India at the Olympics, and I think that book did a lot of justice to India at the Games. But I think, yes, first of all, this is going to be a very historic Games. In many ways, it's being played amidst a global pandemic. All these athletes have had to wait for 5 years to get a chance, at the Olympic Games again. And 2020, last year, India was looking very, very positive. Everything was looking extremely good. This year, obviously, the training regimes of most of our athletes have been affected. However, having said that, the kind of work that some of the federations have done to get the players and the athletes ready for the Olympics, I have no doubt that this time the medals are going to be extremely diversified in multiple sports, and India is going to really show that we are not only progressing as an economic power, but also as a sporting power in sports other than cricket.
Lovely answer. Raninder, to you, everybody, I mean, it's not me, simply 1 billion people know that the Indian shooting team perhaps stands the best chance. It is our best team. What have you done with them? What is your realistic assessment? What can we expect? Raninder Singh. Sir, सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है. Mute करो क्या? हाँ. Unmute करो.
Mute पे हो Raninder.
Yeah. Okay. Hi.
Yeah. Go on.
All right. So the thing is that when we had our outing in Rio, I was quite sure that we would do performed reasonably well, not terribly well, because we had an older team, a team that had gone through two Olympics before, and our youth program had not yet grown up the talent that we now have. But it was a revelation to me that we never made it anyway. Even the great Abhinav folded by 0.001 order, on the bronze. So I really thought, if we don't know what is wrong, how are we going to fix it? So I asked Abhinav, who was retired from shooting then, he didn't have a conflict of interest, and I put some journalists on it. I told him, you'll be as critical as you can. But I want to know what I've done wrong, because I want to correct it for the next one. It's a question of survival, the funding we get, etc. If we don't produce today, then...
Can people or is it...
So,
No, there is an other issue.
we-
I'll sum it up. Yes, Raninder, go for it.
So we put together a program based on that, all the structures and the suggestions that they had put in, save one, everything else I implemented, and we got a team together from our old Olympians as coaches. We started relying on our own people rather than bringing in foreigners that we used to in the past. We had 1 or 2 foreign coaches, but we started immediately from the juniors, grooming them by Indian coaches, and that made a hell of a difference. Then we had benefactors like Parth, who came in to support us with giving them good, nobody will work unless they get a good, good package to take home on the month, and the government doesn't provide that sort of thing. So we managed to consolidate a very, very good team.
Okay, I'll stop you there. What he just said, to sum up, basically after Rio, there was a deep dive into shooting, and Abhinav Bindra committee was empowered by Raninder Singh, and as I said, this takes a lot of courage to introspect. He did that. All but one of the suggestions were implemented, and like he said, that rather than foreign coaches, our own people were empowered and Indian coaches were empowered. There are still 2 foreign coaches. Everything was done, and people like Parth, Jindal made facilities available, and the results are there to see. I will go to Ajay now. I'll come back to Raninder about the assessment, because there are 3 different assessments. Ajay, boxing again, for a period we did not have a federation, for a period it was all lost, but all of a sudden, under you, in the last couple of years, we are seeing serious talent, whether it's Vikas, who says gold, whether it's Amit, whether it's Mary, whether it's several of our women and men. This is again perhaps our best crop. Your thoughts?
Well, certainly, I think, like you said, we had no federation, we had no team, and the sport was really suffering. But I think in the last 4 years, there's been a complete turnaround in the sport. Today, from a global rank of somewhere in the 40s, we are ranked in the top 10 nations of the world. In fact, closer to the top 5 now. And so certainly India has become a boxing powerhouse. There's no question about it. I think you talked about Vikas Krishan and Amit Fangal and Mary Com and these people, and of course they've done a superb job, and we've supported them in every way we could. But if you look at the youth team, we had a Youth World Championship recently, and in that Youth World Championship, it was such a washout. We were the number 1 team by such a long margin that we had 10 gold medals.
Yeah.
And the team that probably had 2. So it was a complete washout, and we just need to make sure that at every level, as Raninder was saying, we need to make sure from the sub-junior level to the junior level to the youth to the elite level, we are training them all. We are identifying. This is a country of 1.3 billion people, and we have something like 5,000 serious registered boxers. We need to have closer to 5 million registered boxers, and we need to pick the best talent. This is a terrifically empowering sport. It doesn't need so much money, and the kind of change it can bring about is just absolutely amazing. We've seen so many stories of these young boxers who came from absolutely nowhere. I asked some of them, one of them who won a gold at the Youth World Championship recently. I said, why did you take to the sport of boxing? And they said, look, we had nothing to eat in our home, and a friend of ours, a family friend, told us that उस कैंप में ज्वाइन कर लीजिए एंड वहाँ पर खाना मिलेगा एंड दैट्स हाउ दे गॉट इनटू बॉक्सिंग एंड टुडे इंडिया इज द बॉक्सिंग पावर हाउस सो I think incredible sport, incredible stories, and the number of medals that we've got in championships around the world in the last 2 or 3 years has been completely unprecedented. Every time we've gone to a championship, we've won record number of medals. It's great, but
okay. Nalin, if I can come to you on that.
The condition of our boxers because of
if I can come to you on that, I mean, very similar to the Sakshi Malik story. That मुझे airplane चढ़ना है इसीलिए मैंने wrestling शुरू कर दिया and you go on to win an Olympic medal and the whole world wants to interview you. I mean, this is uniquely Indian. You and I keep talking about this Indianness. But your thoughts on Tokyo? I mean, here Ajay, here Raninder, here Parth, and all of a sudden there is a better India rather than what we see in our 9 p.m. toxic television debates.
So I think the fact that the Tokyo Olympics are a game changer on more ways than one. The fact that in a pandemic year after this kind of a devastation, you're going ahead with the Olympics and Indian athletes are managing to go. On boxing and on shooting in particular, you have the largest contingents that we've ever fielded compared to the past. 9 boxers, 5 men, 4 women. It's more than what we ever fielded, and I think all of them are very good prospects. On shooting, 15, which is more than again the largest contingent we fielded. 12 was the largest one before that, and I think. And a lot of credit to Ajay for boxing to make sure. I mean, I think probably more boxers might have qualified this time had the pandemic not intervened and there'd been more qualification tournaments. And I think the fact that these boxers have, there was a championship going to be held in Delhi, they've gone to Dubai through special intervention and now all of that. So a lot is expected from the boxers. On the shooting, I think if I can add to what Raninder was saying, it takes a lot for a sports federation in India to get a honest assessment and also publish it, what's and all, and actually then implement it. So all credit to Raninder for the turnaround in shooting, and I think also in shooting, just like in boxing, the renaissance has been not just at the elite level, but at the junior levels as well. I think that's been one of the great achievements of the turnaround in the last 4 years after the Abhinav Bindra committee and so on. Yeah. So, and I actually had a question for Raninder on this. Raninder, last time when we met, which was at the book launch of our book in January in Delhi with Boria, you had on your iPad you were showing us the projections and based on that how many medals you thought on that current form, what it looked like on your projections. How much has that changed from January of 2020 to now in May of 2021?
Okay. Could you ask that, Nalin? Because he now has 3 assessments. So let's get the 3 assessments before I go to Parth. Yes, Raninder.
Yeah, I've got actually 4 assessments. That assessment Nalin's talking about was pre-COVID. In that, they were giving us 5 medals. Now there's one post-COVID, which came out just after our World Cup in Delhi. In that, they're giving us 8 medals. I think, look, this is not my opinion. I'm just telling you what they're saying. In the pre-COVID, they were giving us 2 gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze. Post, they're saying 4 gold, 5 silver, 8. 2 gold, 3 silver, and 3. But what is interesting is, both of them, in one they're giving us 8 finalists, and in the other one they're giving us the medalists plus 2 finalists. So, what it means is, as you were saying, that they're in the ballpark. Okay. Then there are 2 other assessments. One is giving us 7 medals, the other one is giving us 4 medals. There is a 4th one also, which has just got 5 minutes to go, which is giving us 2 medals. So if you're going to play, it's a much game. If you ask me, as I said, when 50-meter drone was dropped, 50-meter free pistol was dropped, and the 2 mixed gender twin air events were brought in, our best prospects are in the mixed team. If you look at the 2019 performances of our team, we get to put in 2 teams, like we're putting in 2 as well. It's the first time India has matched out with rifle and pistol. I don't have one event where I'm not represented by that.
Okay, your internet is acting up again, Raninder, but let me just sum it up because you're absolutely spot on. What he just said, Parth, is 4 assessments people are giving us between 2 and 8, 9 medals. Between 2 and 8, 9 medals, that's what people are giving us. Now that's phenomenal. Number 2 part is the thing that is said about mixed events. Mixed events, a Saurabh Chaudhary and a Manu Bhakar have not lost anything. Have not lost anything in the last couple of years. So that is also tremendous. So, Parth, Jindal, can you hear me? I mean, I don't know if your frame is frozen or not. If you can hear me, otherwise I'll take the same to Nalin or Ajay. Parth, if you can hear me, give me a sense as a leading corporate who invests in sport. These kind of assessments, Olympics compared to an IPL wasn't so glorious. This is the kind of assessment that makes a fundamental difference, isn't it? Parth, Jindal, if you can hear me, otherwise I'll go with Ajay Singh on this one.
No, absolutely. I think these sorts of assessments are a validation of all the hard work and the consistency that the shooting team has been showing over the years. However, there's got to be a caveat. The pressure of the Olympic Games is something completely different. The weight of expectations is something completely different. And I think it's the onus on all of us and on the media to make sure that the athletes go in with the best frame of mind to excel at the games. But you're absolutely right. The one big change that I have seen, at least in shooting and also in sports like wrestling and boxing and even in track and field, is that youngsters have no fear. Youngsters have absolutely no qualms about whether it's the Olympic Games or something else. They want to go there and do their best, and they know that this is not their final chance. They will have more and they will be able to represent India in Paris and maybe even in LA. So I think we as corporates, we as well-wishers, we as media need to make sure that we don't put too much pressure on them. But yes, the world rankings are there for all to see. Their records are there for all to see. Whether it's a Manu Bhakar or a Saurabh Chaudhary, or whether it's a Yashashwini and Abhishek, or whether it's the other team of Divyansh and Elavanil. I think the mix is very good chance. The individuals are a very good chance, but I'm very excited about shooting. But there's so many sports. I think track and field is another one, which is going to be. I think Neeraj Chopra has a wonderful opportunity to really showcase India on the track, on the field. We've never seen an Indian since Milkha Singh do well at the track and field or PT Usha. But it's going to be a phenomenal game.
So this is the point, isn't it, Ajay? This is the point that you all of a sudden have multiple medalists or prospects across sport, across disciplines. You have legends like Mary Kom and youngsters like Lovelina Borgohain and Neeraj Chopra and Amit Pangal. All of a sudden, this is India shining, talking at world stage of sport. And as a leading corporate, somebody as the head of a federation, you must be immensely proud of what is happening. There's a silent revolution going on.
Oh, it's absolutely incredible, Boria. Absolutely incredible. This is really a new India. It's a young and fearless India, and it's absolutely incredible. I think for the first time, our sports persons are have this confidence that the federation and the government will work together to ensure their success, and that no stone will be left unturned. We said to our players that look, we will give you the very best in the world, the best coaches, the best nutrition, the best exposure to championships, and absolutely the very best. You tell us what you think is lacking, and we'll make up for it. And let me tell you that the federation and the government have both worked so closely together. These guys have been incredible. I have absolutely no hesitation saying the government has been an incredible. So this is a new, young, fearless India, and the best is yet. Let me tell you that the boxers that we have today, the young generation, the youth boxers and the junior boxers are even better. They are even better, and they will make us proud in Paris and in
Ajay is right, Nalin. Ajay is right. I was with Kiran Rijiju yesterday and day before, and we were having a long chat. In fact, I did an interview which is out in the public domain, and he was telling me that sports science, and music to my ears, sports science, mental health, Khelo India and Young India, top scheme and junior top scheme. And then he was saying the Prime Minister is directly involved in monitoring Tokyo preparations. Politics apart, this is a change in India. I mean, and he said, my only effort was to remove bureaucratic red tape when it came to our athletes who have qualified. Nalin, take this. This is a welcome change from the jugaad that you and I have written about that Indian athletes had to face in the past. Nalin, is there? I think there's an issue with Nalin. Parth, you take that. I mean, in the past there was always this issue about jugaad, and now you are seeing systems and structures. That's the change. Take it.
I think huge amount of credit to this government. I think both since 2014 there has been a sea change in their approach towards sports in India. Whether it's the Khelo India or whether it's the Fit India movement, there's a lot of initiatives that were taken by Colonel Rajavardhan Rathore when he was the sports minister, and now it has been taken forward by Kiran Rijiju. And I think the government realizes the importance of the Olympic Games. I think there is a deep desire and deep ambition for India to one day host the Olympic Games as well. And I think they are working in a very clear direction that they want to bring India onto the map. And I have been interacting for the last 10 years with various government officials, various federations. I think accountability has tremendously increased even in the federation, and everyone is now wanting to see results. And I think the preparatory grounds are being set. And what is really music to all of our ears and music to my ears is the focus on youth and the focus on youth development and on age group development. Which earlier was not being emphasized enough. Everyone was saying, let's take a Commonwealth Games champion and an Asian Games champion and prepare them for the Olympics. But unfortunately, it's already too late. By the time they have become a Commonwealth or an Asian Games medalist, you have to start earlier. So what Raninder has done with Jaspal Rana in the junior team, what Ajay Uncle has done in the boxing, we've been seeing the calendarization of events. Earlier, when our academy prospects used to want to know when is the cadet nationals, when is the sub-junior nationals, when is the junior nationals in boxing, we had no idea. It would be announced 2 weeks in advance and that's it, go and participate. Now there is a very, very detailed calendar that is published in the beginning of the year, which is really allowing the athletes to train. And I think, huge credit also to Sancheti ji. He's no more with us, but he played a massive role. And, I think everyone is learning from each other, and that's how the whole ecosystem is developing.
Okay. Nalin, basically what all of them are saying, we are all of a sudden talking of systems, of structures. We were winning medals earlier, the 26, 27 we won because of individual genius. Our use of jugaad. Bindra, father creates a shooting range, goes and wins. Somebody, Devendra Jhajaria will take an axe and go and sort of cut trees and say, this is how I will train myself compared to the Chinese with TheraBand. So peculiarly Indian story. But all of a sudden you have a Raninder Singh giving facilities in Croatia. You have an Ajay Singh giving facilities in the Middle East. You have a Parth Jindal creating a world-class center in Bellary. You come and train. All of a sudden you have private-public synergy. You have a Kiran Rijiju and a government saying sports science, no bureaucratic red tape, whatever needs to be done for tops, chalo bhai karte hain. This is a fresh India, Nalin. I mean, this is the India that we've been training for. Your thoughts?
No, absolutely, Boria. I missed some of the previous discussion. But absolutely, I was listening to Parth speak, and this is a huge India between the beginning of the 20th century and 2004 won a total of 6 medals in the Olympics. That includes the great medals. In 2008 and 2015, we won 11 medals, so almost 2/3 of what we won in the last years together. Now, there's something significant I told before that, in many of those medals were rather for individual which when they fight for the right?
Nalin, I'm losing you. I'm losing you with the audio. Can you just check the audio once? But I got your thrust that between 2000 and 2004, we won so many more medals. I mean, compared to the last century, we basically won more than that. So, Raninder, Rio, yes, was an eye-opener. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Is it
No,
better?
it's not. It's not. It's not. Just go out and come back again. Go out and come back while I go to Raninder once. Raninder, give me a sense when, and a lot of your shooters are 20, 21-year-olds. A Saurabh Chaudhary, a Manu Bhakar, yes, there is an Abhishek Verma, there is a Sanjeev Rajput, but a lot of these kids are still kids. Yet they are winning the juniors, they are winning the seniors. Talk about the maturity level, and this is a question that Parth actually alluded to. Do you think they'll be able to take the pressure at Olympic stage? Raninder? Sir, unmute kar lo. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not very savvy with it. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go for it.
Yeah, okay. So, look, firstly, they are not 21 yet. If we had gone on the appointed time to the Olympic Games last year, then the average age minus Urvi and Suni and Rajput and one skeet shooter, what's his name, Miraj. These four are the seniors, and the balance 11 were below 20. They were 19 point something average, 18 point something average. Now they're 19 point something average. So this is junior prospect game. It's not only Jaspal Rana, you mentioned him, his name is done stellar job, but it's also Suma, it's also Dipali, it's also Manoj. All these people have worked for us. They worked for 2 years, molded them and brought them up. But above and beyond that, it is the backward integration of our sport into the education system that has given us a full base. So when we have air rifle, a national rifle pistol national, where we used to have say 900 people coming 5 years ago, we now have 10,000. And they've all qualified and we keep raising the bar every year, but still they come. And look, Manu Bhakar, everyone talk about Manu Bhakar, it's fantastic. Last national, the last national, a girl aged 13 from Hyderabad came and beat her in the 10 meter. And then went wrong. And I was now running in Hyderabad to see where is this girl, who is this? I can't find her. We have got this national sport. So, like this, you had Ella who came up. Now, we've seen her performance in Europe. This girl, look at her resilience, you talk about mental pressure and makeup. 30 minutes before her this event, her mother rings her up and says her nani has died of COVID. 30 minutes before. And she goes and comes second. These are the things I say. Manu Bhakar, tremendous pressure on this child. All this controversy, come on, you and I are old, you got 16. These are little kids. They're not 18 and a half old ages. Now, all this pressure is brought on, and then the new handlers in this world, all the commercial handlers of athletes, etc. That girl, the way she has worked, she's without a coach. She's working now with a coach, but earlier she was without a coach. And the way she's put together her performance along with Rahi in the 25 meter, and that's not her main event. In the mix with Saurabh, they come number one.
Correct. I'll take it to Ajay on that. I mean, to hear that an Elavenil, by the way, Elavenil, Valerie, even Gagan Narang has been telling me about Elavenil for several years. By the way, Parth Jindal, I thought you are the youngest kid on the block in terms of being a genius. You're not. There are several big, 19 who are now, will give you a run for your money. So Ajay, this is the story. But Ajay, where I want to also ask you a little bit of a controversial one. In boxing, there is always this element of subjectivity. Like last week, I thought Amit Fangal had won that bout, and he was given a 3-2 verdict. We have seen that with Vikas Krishan in London, Errol Spence, 5 hours after the bout, America gets the verdict changed. Is India strong enough to ensure that our boxers get a fair deal?
That's why you need international vets.
Ajay?
Look, it's a question of, look, this takes time. India is much stronger than it used to be. Is it as strong as we want it to be? Certainly not. You know what happens is that you host more championships, you have more referee judges of your own, you have more administrators of your own, and once you do that, it becomes difficult to refer to Amit Pangal's bout. He clearly beat that guy who was the current. There was no question about this. That the guy he was boxing was the #1 boxer in the world by any reasonable person looking at it could say that Amit Pangal won that bout. We will get a fairer deal than we got before, any time before. But will it be absolutely fair? I can't guarantee. All we can do is to build the infrastructure, make sure we have enough championships of our own in India, that India hosts the championship, make sure that our people are in administrative positions of IBA, make sure that our referee judges, today the number of referee judges that we have, the number of coaches that we have, that are 3-star IBA rated, 2-star, we've never had these numbers before. So that is what gives us political strength. Unfortunately, this is a subjective sport. There's nothing that you can do. We discussed often what happens. If somebody punches you, and connection can be measured, and then you can give points against that. But that's not what the sport is. The sport is as much about dodging a punch as it is about delivering one. So it will remain subjective, but we need to become stronger politically to make sure that we are not cheated out of medals.
Okay. Parth, Jindal, question to you and Nalin. Against the backdrop of a second COVID surge which this country has seen, negativity and gloom, if Tokyo becomes the best ever, 10 medals in able-bodied and 10 medals in para, what would that mean to you as an Indian, as a leading corporate, and as as someone who's a thought leader? You are one of the leaders, let's face it, you are one of the top industrialists, corporates, sports patrons of this country. What would that mean to you against the backdrop of what we have suffered? Parth, you're on mute.
I think it would mean that we as a nation are a resilient nation, that we never give up, that each setback is something we take in our stride and we come back stronger. And I think if you look at the way in which our athletes are training today, they're in NIS, Patiala, or they are training in their hometowns at 50 degrees heat today because they're unable to leave their country, they're unable to go outside for international exposure. But when you talk to any of them, they all say that, sir, we will achieve whatever we have set out to achieve. These 365 days have made us a better athlete, not a worse athlete. And we are better prepared today than we were prepared in 2020. So when I speak to an athlete, and I have like everyone, I have down days when I am very depressed, sitting at home in a confined place in lockdown. But just hearing their voice, hearing the optimism in them, shows to me that as a nation, we are a resilient nation, and that is what I am sure we will prove in Tokyo 21.
Nalin, same question. As academics who document this story, what will it mean to you?
Boria, it's hugely important, and the timing, the Olympics by itself is huge. Remember, we didn't do all that well in Rio as was expected. So therefore, this is even if without the pandemic, this Olympic would have been really important for India as a takeoff point in Indian sport after the letdown in Rio. Now, after the pandemic and the second wave, the timing, we are just emerging from a devastating second wave, which is unlike anything else which any other country has seen. Just as you're coming out of it, if you get a high in Tokyo, imagine what that would do to the national mood. We've seen that before with previous sporting events and so on. And especially in the Olympics, where India traditionally has only started doing, it started getting some medals in the last 2 or 3 Olympics in any serious way. So this is hugely important. If you get, you mentioned the figure of 10 and 10 for both the Paralympics and the Olympics. In this conversation, I was listening to Parth. We've been watching several Olympics together now, Boria, for the last 3 or 4 Olympics. I don't remember an Olympics before where we heard this kind of systems discussion leading up to the Olympics. What Parth is talking about in terms of the nuts and bolts of the background structures, and not just these top athletes. That is something that we've seen before in badminton. What Gopi built. You know, when Gopi built his phalanx of badminton players, it wasn't just those athletes on the top. The gene pool, if you like, expanded to 5,000-6,000 badminton players across the country. You are now seeing that bedrock being built in boxing. You're seeing that in shooting, and if the elite athletes who are now much more younger than the previous cohorts, if they do well in Olympics, that's a huge turnaround.
You know, Raninder and Ajay, both to you. I mean, Raninder, you go first. You know, when we as journalists speak to athletes, and we've been doing backstage, we've been trying to talk to athletes for a long, long time. And I'm being very candid here because it's a candid conversation. The thing was, the federation is at one level my baap, so there is a degree of fear. There is not a degree कि नहीं भाई फेडरेशन के बारे में आपको कुछ सच नहीं बोल सकता क्योंकि फेडरेशन पनिश कर देगा. But now, when I actually talk to the boxers and shooters, यार सबको ही बोल रहा है फेडरेशन is actually the protector and they've done everything for us. Croatia, आप एला वेडिंग से पूछो, आप हाँ, 1 second, I'll come to that. आप सुमा शिरूर से पूछो, आप जसपाल से पूछो, आप किसी भी शूटर से पूछ लो या बॉक्सर से पूछ लो, all of a sudden there is this dramatic change with the federation's approach to the sport. Raninder, you go first. What have you done in the last 4 years that you did not do earlier? Unmute yourself and tell me.
I'll tell you. Look, first of all, we were probably, I don't know how many other federations, I've not checked, but we have a very active athletic commission. Okay, Murad Ali Khan, an Olympian, heads it. We have active athletes on it, we have inactive athletes on it, all who win international and multiple medals. Okay, in international. That is an act of what he did. They can always go to for protection if somebody is trying to victimize them in any way. The word victimize means in a very caring manner. Secondly, all policies that are made, selection policies for any event, whether it be the Olympics, whether it be the Asian Games, Commonwealth Games, World Cup, World Championship, World Cup final, they are all made by subcommittees and brought to the technical committee just for an order. And I sit there and I don't let anyone say anything. And those are made by athletes, actual athletes. What we do is we filter the bias that they are trying to protect for each other. So it becomes a balance. You see that nobody is able to split it directly. They are making the selection policy, which means they have to stay in their own future. The motivation it gives those athletes is exponentially more, number one. Number two, sorry. And number three is, because we have Indian coaches coming in, they feel a sense of family, much more sense of family and belonging as compared to foreign coaches. So, that plus the fact that we have, you know, such a broad, large bench strength now in our sport, you know, we have a very large national squad, 250 national senior junior, and we're sending them to juniors 5 World Cups, seniors 5 World Cups every year. I'm talking normal time. And they are getting the exposure. They are pushing the seniors so hard that in 1-2 World Cups they're over. Earlier, the policy was that juniors will shoot in juniors, seniors will shoot in seniors. They need more exposure. We've changed that. It's best foot forward. So you can be 12 years old, but if you beat this Pardana who's just come who's a gold medalist in the Asian Games that year, in the trials, you will go to Pardana and sit at home. So the motivation, we have just completely opened it.
So what Ajay Raninder is saying is, in one word, total transparency. And I see that in boxing also. Earlier there was so much talk of favoritism, ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है. अभी वो सब चला गया. हम लोग मेरी कॉम निजात इतना देखा, but again everything got streamlined. The other thing, Ajay, I want you to address is the issue of mental health. I mean, when a boxer loses an unfair bout, do we really know what he or she will go through in the context of what has happened with Naomi Osaka? Authoritarianism telling her basically get lost, either pay the $15,000 and she has had to withdraw. By the way, let me put this on record. If any athlete, Raninder's athletes, Ajay's athletes, any athlete refuses to do media at the Olympics, he or she is entitled to that. Unlike in any other competition in the world, if an athlete does not want to do media, he or she can say, no, I will not. The IOC will not say a word to that. That is the Olympics media mandate. Yes, it's preferable to do media, but if you are depressed, we will respect that. Ajay, what about mental health? How important is it for you? Before I take the same question to Parth.
Look, firstly, I think all that we've tried to do at the BFI Boria is to say to the boxers that you guys come first. We will shield you from all the politics of sport. You just go out and do your best, and we will do our best for you. When I came into the scene in 2016, let me tell you, I had many conversations with the boxers, and the situation was terrible, really terrible. I saw that boxers were actually, when we were hosting championships, boxers were staying in dharamshalas. The officials were staying in 5-star hotels. Boxers were traveling by buses and third-class trains, and the officials were traveling by air. So we said, look, you guys, the boxers, will you up in the best facilities that we can afford to. We will make sure by air. We will look after your needs. The first camp, I tell you, I went to the women's camp, which actually I shifted to IG Stadium because I wanted to go there because I thought that there was a great deal of potential in women boxing in India. So I put it near my house so that I could visit it often, stadium. And the first time I went there, the boxers said, it's really great that you should send us to these international championships. We haven't been in so many years. But the championship you are sending us to is in Russia. And we've heard that it's snowing there. And we don't have any clothes. I mean, we just have tracksuits to wear. It was just so shocking. And I sent them my car to a place to get, these down jackets. It's just the basics. We didn't even have the basics. Just clothes, shoes, food, just the basics. And just treating them humanly, in a civilized way. And then, of course, as the champions that they are, I think we just need to fix these basics. And I think our players recognize, as I'm sure Raninder's players recognize, that we are about them. I think any credit that we get will be by their performance. So we better make sure
Absolutely.
that their performance is going to be, absolutely. And
Okay.
The last thing I want to say is I just want to compliment Raninder also. Look at it. He sent his shooters to Zagreb in a chartered flight. When there was no way to get them out of the country, he reached out to me and he said, look, let's send them away to Zagreb, and we collaborated with Raninder to send them. Parth has provided his facilities in Bellary, world-class facilities, and we've always said to him and to our boxers that, look, all these facilities belong to us. They are Indian facilities first. We don't care whether they are government or whether they are private or whatever they are. They are Indian facilities. So we will use the best facilities that we have, and we will create this collaboration between all of us and make sure that our sport does well.
Parth, coming to you on that. Tell me a little bit about the JSW story, because you have played a significant role in getting this done, and I will preface it by telling our audience about a little interaction in Rio. It was right in front of the Olympic Village, and the 4x400 team was standing there, 4 girls, and and they were actually gazing at some American and other athletes. And I went and asked, "Kya ho raha hai?" And they said, "Sir, kaise bol sakte hain?" I said, "What do you mean?" And they said, "देखिए ये Ralph Lauren पहन रहे हैं, Stella McCartney British athletics team पहन रहा है. सर हमारा ये जो शर्ट है ये सी थ्रू है, 2 बार धोने के बाद ये सी थ्रू है." And one of the girls started crying. And I did the story. I mean, I for 2 seconds, I didn't know what to say. This is the reality, or was the reality. And then you have a Raninder, then you have an Ajay, then I have a you, who have actually changed this for India. That is where Parth, you become so significant for me. So tell me a little bit about that initiative of yours and this public-private or federation-you partnership which has changed things. Before you say, Reena, I know you are sending me questions on this number. I'm actually using this phone So can you, I'm giving you my number. Can you just send me the questions there? 98304, Rima. 98304 71214. I'll repeat. 98304 71214 is the number where you send me the questions. I'll take Parth's answer and go to the questions. Parth.
Boria, before I get to the JSW story, I would just like to say that you have picked the two of India's best federation presidents for this panel. And it is no surprise to me or to anybody in the country that India's performance in these two disciplines will be amongst the best, if not the best. However, the story is not the same in other federations, and there are still several federations where these problems continue to persist, and the old Raja rule or the old rule of the is continuing, and those sports are languishing.
We call them visiting card walas.
That's lovely.
So I just want to say that we are portraying to the audience a new India. We are portraying to the audience a young India. However, we have not done this. The country still has many sports where this revolution or this silent revolution needs to take place. So that's what the first thing I'd like to say. The second on the JSW story, I think I obviously have had the opportunity to study and live abroad, and for me, when I was living abroad and studying abroad, whenever the Olympics would come around, the kind of fervor and the kind of nationalism and patriotism it would invoke in whether the United States or whether the United Kingdom or Japan, these are the three countries that I've lived in, was truly astonishing. And the way the entire country would galvanize around their Olympic athletes was something that I've only ever seen in cricket in India. And that is what truly inspired me. And I said, instead of blaming the system, instead of blaming whatever problems India has, why don't I go and make a difference? And luckily, found like-minded people like Raninder, like Ajay Uncle to really help take this cause forward. And I said, if we can build a world-class steel factory, if we can build a world-class airline, if we can build a world-class power plant, why can't we build a world-class Olympic institute? Why should our athletes always go abroad?
I agree.
And that is how the Inspire Institute was born. And you can ask Ajay Uncle, the Australian team and the Italian boxing team came to IIS along with the Indian team, and they went back and said that this is better than any other facility that they have been in. So now when Indian athletes go for the Olympics,
we are really proud of you, Parth. It's a super facility. We are proud.
Absolutely.
Okay, on that, yes, Parth. Finish it and then I'll go to questions.
Now, one last thing. When Sakshi Malik entered the Rio arena, she told me that, "Bhaiya, ye air conditioned mein main kaise kushti karungi?" Today, no Indian wrestler, no Indian boxer will ever say that, because they have facilities in their own countries which are world class. And that is the gap that we are trying to bridge. You see what Raninder has done in Delhi with the shooting, Karni shooting scene. It is world class. You can go anywhere in the world. They did world class. You see what Ajay Uncle has done with the boxing facilities in the country. This is what India missed, and now we are having the infrastructure. We are having the right people in the right post in most federations and most professions. And this is how the country will go forward.
Sure. Nalin, you take the first one. Moving into questions, plenty over the next 10 minutes. Nalin, Madhavan R asks, when will India host an Olympics? Is 2032 a chance?
I think it's that's too near. Hosting an Olympics and making a serious bid is a much longer term process. I think if you do well in Tokyo, you build a foundation, then you can start thinking about about constructing a bid for the long term. 2032, that's not going to happen.
Okay, I just add to that. I mean, just like we're celebrating Parth Jindal, we must put into on the show the contribution of Mr. Sarmani. And Mrs. Ambani is very rightly saying we should host the Youth Olympics first before we put in a bid for the main Olympics. That's how you go about it, Madhavan. And that's how corporate India coming together will actually make India a true sporting nation. Parth, you take this one. This is actually directly for you. Dharmesh, Gohil. Corporate India never had, a lack of funds. Why is it only after JSW's entry that things have started moving up?
It's very, very. I've always said that India needs multiple corporates to enter, and if we can play the role of a catalyst, it would be fantastic. And it's really, really great to see other corporates come in, and we welcome them with open arms. We would love. It's for the country. We all remember Jana Gana Mana in 2008, and I don't know what everyone would give up and what I would give up for it to play again in Tokyo.
We will see that. 7:30 in the morning. I was actually on air when Abhinav won. Come on, still gives us goosebumps. Raninder, you take this. No doubt we are investing in infrastructure, but are we investing equally in women's sports? In your discipline, you've killed it, boss, with women's sports. Take it.
What? Sorry, I didn't get it.
In women, men and women. So
well, we have gender equality, and most of my coaches are also women, and I am telling you, most of my medalists are going to be women also this time. So we are, in fact, it's the boys who got we guys have got a little left behind as a gender. Our sport is no issue about what gender you are, because it's not a physical sport. There's a little bit muscle development and all you require. You can be fat, you can be thin, you can be tall, you can be short. It's the gun and the head that will shooting, and that is why there's so much growth in the schools. And then when it's gone into colleges and all that, so girls are doing exceedingly well. We have one or two events where we are not attracting enough of them because it's slightly more expensive, short-term events. But in rifle and pistol, my God,
Okay, this was from India.
Boria, I would like to go back. You asked a question about that medal in the boxing changing in London. You remember that? That's what you were talking to Ajay about. We did the converse in Goa with me in Rio when Mehraj Khan was not getting into the final because some guy gave one of our teams as a miss. The Italians over there, who had traditionally been in shorthand the great, overarching power, they were trying to bully us out. But because I was there in the International Federation, I stuck my, my heels in, I dug my heels in, and I said, no, absolutely, you will give it as a skill because one of the sides I took gave it as a skill. If I hadn't been there, that boy wouldn't have made the final. It's quite a different matter that he didn't get a medal.
Okay, I'll add to that. What Raninder managed to do, and I was with him sitting there, it's exactly what he said. But before that, 4 years earlier, Ranjan Sodhi lost out in London 2012 because two British audience members sitting right next to us when Ranjan was still very much in contention started shouting when he was shooting and Ranjan actually looked back, and that's when he missed those two shots and he lost out as a result of that. That was 2012 and this is 2016. That's how things have changed. We've been there, we've seen how India has suffered. Ajay, you take this. What makes the younger talent so dedicated and promising? This is from Stuti. You take this.
Hunger. I think it's just hunger. It's just fire in the belly. A lot of these youngsters come from small villages, small towns, and they just need to prove something to the world. They need to make their families proud. They need to be liberated from the drudgery of their day-to-day existence. And I think when you come from it's just a different level of dedication, and if they come into a supportive environment, it just works terrifically well. And I think increasingly you will find that we will have very large numbers of these boxers and these players in other sports as well, from small towns and villages. We need to have the ability to identify them early, and we need to have the ability to train them well. And I think if we can do that, certainly India will be world beaters. There's no question.
Okay, last few questions. This is from Vandana Kumar. Raninder, you take this.
Yeah.
Vandana asks, we know athletes get rewarded after a fantastic effort. What about coaches and other support staff associated with the medalists? Are they also recognized and rewarded?
Well, yes, they are. The coaching staff gets a cash award. Government gives. We have to recommend them. Actually, the only people who don't get rewarded in the whole thing is Ajay and me. Everybody else gets it. But our award is seen. Seeing in the World Championship, I had a boy called Hriday Hazarika Junior.
Yeah.
And in Korea, and just, I mean, he looked like that olive oil from Popeye's the thin leg. That was he was a classic act, and he got the gold medal. And he got the gold medal, and he didn't realize he had got the gold medal. Then suddenly he turned around and saw his gold medal. He looked at me, dropped his gun, and came running and gave me a hug. That's what.
Wow.
I don't need more. So that is what we look for. And the coaches and support staff. Now, some of the support staff are ignored. The masseurs, the physios. But
okay. I think there's an internet issue with Raninder. Got it? Got the story. Nalin, you take this before I go with one
I think
last
we
one.
need to take some of the prize money and ensure that Raninder gets a broadband connection.
we will get him one. We will get him a proper broadband.
I don't want it exactly.
We'll request Reliance to send him a Geo connection. Nalin, you take this. Gopi has shown the criticality of having a good coach. While there is a push in Khelo India, is there a thinking in relevant circles to identify best coaches in multiple sports who can identify and build a line of sports people?
Look, I think this is a very important part of the matrix. So far, this has happened only in certain federations which have been systemic. For example, Boria, the Olympic Task Force. What did the Olympic Task Force say? It talked about a high performance director at the apex level, and that was never appointed. So there are several structural changes which need to happen across the board, which have not happened. So what we have is individuals, where the right individuals are in place in certain federations. There you are seeing changes, and that's why you're doing well, or you have prospects of doing well in certain games. Across the board, it's not shifted. Yes, the sports ministry, there's been a shift at some level with the top scheme and so on, but that's for your elite level players. For the vast majority of your feeder system, things have not changed.
Okay, finally, I'm 6:30. Before I go back to Rina for closing comments, I know this is a tough one. Parth, prediction. How many are we winning?
I was actually writing it down. And for me, these are the medal prospects, right? And please, Raninder, please correct me if I'm wrong. Please. So for me, 10-meter air rifle, right? Divyansh Singh Panwar is world number 2. Very good chance for a medal. 10-meter air rifle women. Ella Vanil, Valarivan.
Yeah.
Valarivan, world number 1. 50-meter, Aishwarya Pratap Singh. 10-meter air pistol, Saurabh Chaudhary. Abhishek Verma. 10-meter air pistol women, Manu Bakar and Yashashwini Deshwal. 25-meter pistol, Rahi Sarnobat and Manu Bakar. Okay. Then mixed team. So I don't know, shooting, Raninder has to give the prediction. But then you have, I think, sorry, okay.
Okay, go for it.
Main ones are mixed.
I'm saying wrestling, Bajrang Punia, Vinesh Fogart. Very big probables for medals. Track and field, Neeraj Chopra, can he beat the German domination in javelin? I think so. 90-meter plus, I hope so. Boxing, you have Amit Pangal, Vikas Kishan Yadav, Mary Kom, you have this Pooja Bora who's done phenomenally well, you have Sanjeet who's done phenomenally well. Weightlifting, Mirabai Chanu.
Yep.
Can you imagine, we've spent 1 hour, we have not spoken about PV Sindhu. Can you imagine? PV Sindhu.
Then you have archery, Atanu Das, Deepika Kumari. And then you have the men's hockey team. Can they pull a surprise? I think so. Why not? And
Excellent. And yes,
unbelievable.
Parth Jindal said PV Sindhu. Parth Jindal said PV Sindhu. I'll add Satvik Siraj, Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty to that. They are as good, and for the first time we might get a double medal. But Raninder, give me a number. Give me a number.
3 in what? In India. I'm going to talk about India. Forget shooting. Okay?
Give me India.
Okay.
Give me India.
So the three projections that I've got from various companies in America that usually do this, and they're quite accurate. One is 17, one is 14, and one is 16.
Man, oh man. We will get you 10 broadband connections if that.
Wow.
I'm going to send you these. You have a look. One is by Grace Notes, which owns, it's a big one of the big things. Then the other two are smaller ones. But if you look at their past, I checked their accuracy. In fact, one of them told me I was going to get a 0 in Rio, and I said, "Smoking hashish, old boy. This is not going to happen. We are going to get 3 medals over there. That's what I thought we would get." But we were over there. But he was right. Now they are telling us, 8 medals and all we are not going to get. I'm telling you now. In shooting, if we come back with 5, 6 medals, we will have done exceedingly well. Do not forget it is the Olympic Games, and although we are the number 1 team in the world in terms of number of medals, in terms of gold and all that. We are competing against the elitist of the elite. The advantage we have is the ragda we gave the rest of the world in 19, which was last working year. When we walk in, everybody says the Indians come. Earlier we used to go, Chinese aa gaya, German aa gaya. Now those guys sit in a corner and look at us. So we have a psychological advantage our team has over them.
Okay, Raninder, my time is up before I go to Reena. Ajay, number before Nalin gives me his number.
I'm too superstitious to give numbers, Boria. I'm sorry. I refuse to do that. And, I'm just, I don't even want to put pressure on our sports persons. Not at all.
Okay.
I think this will be our best performance in Olympics. Of that, there is no doubt, but I don't want to give you a number.
Fine. As long as we have it as our best, I'm happy. Nalin?
Boria, I think you started off by saying the number 10. I think the number 10 is very achievable in this Olympics.
Gishakkar. Reena, if we get 10, Raninder was saying 14, 15, whatever. If we get 10, that's terrific.
I'm saying what they are saying. The charts are saying. Look, I'm not clued up enough to look at it all India. In boxing, they are saying 6.
Boria, a lot of this depends on the day. A lot, like in shooting and others, a lot of it depends. You get it right, you can hit double digits. You don't get it wrong, so a lot of it will depend. I mean, that's why it's the Olympic Games. But 10 is achievable if things go, your way on certain days.
Okay, Parth, last word.
80% of my medals will come in the first 3 days.
I think that is very critical. In Rio, India had a very poor start, and we won the 2 medals at the fag end of the Olympic Games. The onus will be on how quickly we can start and how quickly we can get on to
the momentum.
If we get onto that podium on that day 1, the pressure eases on everybody.
Correct.
And that's when the Indian athletes will really thrive. So,
correct.
So Raninder, it's over to you.
Correct. So first 3 days shooting, Raninder Singh and his team, Reena, take it over. I will be there. We'll cover it and we'll get Ajay and Raninder back. Raninder with a better broadband connection for TATA Literature.
I'll take a sabuk with me, which you can use on me if we don't get the bloody medal.
Arey sir, chinta hi na kare. We'll celebrate together in Japan. Reena, over to you.
Thank you. This was an absolutely wonderful, very exciting, invigorating and a very engaging conversation. And we shall definitely cross a double digit. So we look forward to many more and lots more medals coming our way. Before I move ahead, may I ask all those sent in questions to us, could you please write in to on our website to collect your Tata Click rewards. They were really very interesting questions. Before we end today, may I announce the next event that we have. The Tata Literature Live Business Shastras series is, the next book is Tata Stories, written by Mr. Harish Bhatt. brand custodian of Tata Sons, who will be in conversation with eminent panelists Dr. Raghunath Malshekar, Fellow of the Royal Society, a scientist and writer, and Mr. R. Gopal Krishnan, a writer, corporate advisor, and former executive director at Tata Sons. This event will be held on Friday, 25th June. Thank you once again for making all the difference you are to Indian sports and to our country. Thank you, and do stay safe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye, Parth. Bye, Raninder.
Bye. Both, Boria?